Being broke isn't just about not earning enough money. It's a system of habits, fears, and conditioning that quietly keeps people from building wealth or even financial stability. But you're not alone. There's a reason why so many smart and hardworking people still end up living paycheck to paycheck. It turns out the reasons go far beyond your salary. From what we never learned in school, to the subtle ways we self-sabotage, there's a tangle of psychological, educational, and social factors keeping people financially stuck. Welcome to Glitch Cult. Today we're going to unravel exactly why you're not just broke by chance, step by step, so you can spot these hidden money traps in your own life as well. Let's start with something obvious but rarely talked about. Most of us were taught how to calculate the area of a parallelogram, but not how to calculate a monthly budget. We can recite the periodic table, but no one explained how interest rates silently drain our bank accounts. And then, when we step into adult life, we're somehow expected to just know how money works. Think about it. Where did you learn about taxes, credit scores, loans, investing, or even how to negotiate a salary? For most people, the answer is nowhere. We wing it. We copy what our parents did, even if they struggled. Or we follow friends, influencers, or whoever seems to have it figured out. And when we don't understand something, we usually avoid it, because confusion feels uncomfortable. Imagine this. A fresh graduate gets their first job. They're thrilled until they see the first pay slip. Deductions, taxes, PF, insurance, none of it makes sense. Do they ask questions? Usually not. They shrug and move on. A year later, they have a credit card, a car loan, and no clue how much they're really spending each month. They're stuck in the same loop millions of people fall into, not because they're careless, but because no one taught them better. This lack of education doesn't just affect money. It shows up in decision-making in general. We aren't taught how to make big life choices under uncertainty, how to compare risks, how to plan for setbacks. So we default to copying what everyone else is doing, even if it leads to stress or debt. And here's the kicker. When you don't understand something, you start to avoid it. That unopened bank statement, it can wait. That weird insurance policy, maybe later. Over time, the later becomes a habit. We put off facing our financial reality because it feels intimidating. And the more we put it off, the scarier it feels. You might think this is just a personal problem, but it's actually systemic. Schools often prioritize theoretical knowledge over practical life skills because that's what the curriculum rewards. Governments and corporations aren't rushing to make everyone financially literate either, because a confused customer is a profitable customer. And so, generation after generation, people repeat the same cycle. Earn, spend, struggle, repeat. The knowledge gap becomes a trap. You can't play a game well if you don't know the rules. And right now, most people are playing blindfolded. But here's the good news. The moment you realize this is a knowledge problem, not a character flaw, you take back power. You don't have to learn everything at once. Start with one small thing. Maybe how interest compounds, or how to track your spending for a week. Every piece of knowledge is like turning on a light in a dark room. The more lights you turn on, the fewer mistakes you make by accident. Because staying broke isn't just about what you earn, it's about what you understand. And understanding can be learned. Once you realize you were never taught how money or life choices really work, the next domino falls, discomfort. Because now every decision feels heavier, and the natural human reaction to heavy decisions is to avoid them. You probably felt this before. Maybe you've got a personal project you've been meaning to start, or a tough conversation you've been putting off. Instead of tackling it right away, you think, I'll deal with it later. Later turns into tomorrow, tomorrow into next week. This isn't laziness, it's emotional self-defense. Psychologists say procrastination is rarely about time management. It's about mood management. Your brain doesn't want to feel anxious, so it picks something that feels good right now. Scroll through social media. Watch a show. Rearrange your bookshelf. anything but face the thing that triggers discomfort. This short-term relief feels great in the moment, but it comes with a hidden cost. The task is still there, quietly growing bigger in your head. By the time you finally face it, you're not just dealing with the task itself. You're also dealing with all the dread you've built up around it. Think about how many times we do this in everyday life. We delay starting that new hobby because the first step feels awkward. We put off having that difficult conversation with a friend or partner because it's uncomfortable. We avoid learning a new skill or starting a personal project because we're afraid of being bad at it in the beginning. Each avoidance is a tiny hit of relief, but over time, it creates a mountain of missed opportunities. Greatest of ideas fades away, and we lose out on the opportunity of growth that we were meant to have. So it's not just one area of life. Avoidance shows up everywhere. We put off waking up a little earlier to start a simple morning routine because even that small change feels like a hassle. We delay having a casual chat with someone new because starting a conversation feels awkward. We even delay personal goals like creating something new or changing a daily habit because those first steps always feel clumsy. And here's how it all ties back. Every time we avoid discomfort in these everyday ways, we reinforce a habit of staying in our comfort zone. Over time, this pattern doesn't just stop us from that one small routine or that one simple conversation. It stops us from taking the bigger steps that lead to financial growth and life changes. In other words, every little act of procrastination is like adding another brick to the wall of a broke mindset. It's not just about money. It's about the habit of staying stuck. Each time we choose short-term comfort over a little discomfort, we make it easier to remain in the same place. And that place is often one where we feel stuck or broke. The good news is, once you see this pattern, you can start to break it with small steps. By facing even tiny bits of discomfort, you chip away at that mindset. And that's how you move from feeling stuck to finding momentum, one small, brave step at a time. If avoidance is the first trap, fear is the one that keeps us there. Fear isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, whispering in the back of your mind. What if I mess this up? That tiny question is enough to stop you from taking the next step. Here's the thing, most of us aren't just afraid of failure. We're afraid of embarrassment, rejection, being judged. Psychologists call it fear of negative evaluation. The worry that other people will think less of us if we try and don't succeed. It's why sharing your first project online feels terrifying. It's why some people never ask for a raise, even when they deserve it. And when fear gets too heavy, it often disguises itself as perfectionism. Perfectionism sounds noble. I just want to do this right. But underneath, it's fear saying, if I can't do it perfectly, I'd rather not do it at all. That's how people get stuck planning, researching, tweaking, and never actually starting. Think about how this plays out in real life. You want to start a side hustle, but you tell yourself you need the perfect business idea first. You want to invest, but you wait until you've read every single article and watched every single video. And by then, another year has passed. You want to post your art, your writing, your ideas, but you keep editing and never hit publish. Perfectionism feels productive, but it's actually a sophisticated form of procrastination. It lets you stay in the safe zone of planning forever. And the longer you wait, the scarier starting becomes. And the worst part is, fear and perfectionism can create a false sense of safety. You tell yourself you're not ready yet, and that feels rational. But months later, nothing has changed, except you're now frustrated with yourself. And frustration can quickly turn into self-doubt. This is where fear gets truly dangerous. It starts rewriting your identity. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who can learn, you start to see yourself as someone who can't. That identity shift is what keeps many people broke, stuck, and unfulfilled for years. Breaking this cycle doesn't mean becoming fearless. Fear is part of growth. The key is learning to act with fear instead of waiting for it to disappear. That might mean launching the project before it feels perfect, Applying for the job, even if you meet only 70% of the requirements. Investing a small amount while you're still learning. Every time you do something scared, you teach your brain that fear isn't fatal. You build courage like a muscle, one rep at a time. Fear will always be there. Perfectionism will always tempt you to wait. But if you can move forward even 10% imperfectly, you'll be further ahead than the person still waiting for the right moment. If limiting beliefs are the invisible cage inside your head, your environment is the cage outside of it. The people, places, and culture around you quietly set the standard for what feels normal. And humans are wired to fit into whatever room we're in. Take a minute and think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Do they push you to grow or keep you comfortable? Do they talk about building, saving, creating, or do they complain, gossip, and spend every weekend drowning in short-term escapes? Here's the uncomfortable truth. We often stay stuck because staying stuck is what everyone around us is doing. If everyone in your circle is living paycheck to paycheck, spending impulsively, and joking about how broke they are, that starts to feel normal. If nobody is learning, nobody is starting side hustles. Nobody is talking about financial growth. You might not even realize it's an option. And it's not just friends. Your workplace can normalize mediocrity too. Maybe everyone coasts because no one gets promoted here anyway. Maybe leadership encourages staying late, but not thinking creatively. Over time, that environment can shrink your ambition without you noticing. And it's not just friends. Your workplace can normalize mediocrity too. Maybe everyone coasts because no one gets promoted here anyway. Maybe leadership encourages staying late, but not thinking creatively. Over time, that environment can shrink your ambition without you noticing. Culture plays a role too. Some cultures glamorize overspending, status symbols, and living beyond your means, making saving and investing feel boring or even embarrassing. Others teach you to stay humble and not aim too high, because success might make you stand out too much. Either way, the result is the same. You start holding yourself back to fit in. Here's an example. Imagine you're in a group of friends who celebrate every Friday with expensive dinners and drinks. You know you should save, but saying no means feeling left out. So you go again and again. Not because you're weak, but because humans are social creatures. We'd rather blend and then risk rejection. Over time, these small decisions add up to months or years of financial stagnation. Changing this isn't easy, but it's powerful. Sometimes it means finding just one person who inspires you to level up. Sometimes it's as simple as following different voices online, curating your digital environment so that growth feels normal. Other times, it might mean creating physical distance from people who drain your drive. It doesn't mean abandoning everyone you love. It means being intentional about who influences your decisions. If your friends don't share your goals, that's okay. Just make sure you balance their influence with voices that push you toward where you want to be. Because here's the thing, your environment will always shape you, whether you notice it or not. The choice is whether you let it pull you down or find a room that challenges you to grow. Sometimes the quickest way to change your life isn't to push harder, it's to change the room you're in.